An incident that is mentioned by the biographer of Sultan Salahuddin al-Ayyubi rahimahullah is that at one point he became ill. When he became ill, he made an oath with Allah, a covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he will not focus on anything else and not dispute with fellow Muslims, meaning political disputes, except to focus on al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Within a few years, he was given victory and was able to conquer al-Masjid, the city of Jerusalem. If Erdogan and Imran Khan and other leaders, they followed this guideline, that they made their ultimate goal al-Masjid al-Aqsa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would keep them in power. They wouldn't lose their seat of power. But what happens, everyone starts playing politics, thinking that if they play politics, they will stay in power, but they need to realize the one who keeps them in power is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they focus on their servitude, which is the emancipation of al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Sharif, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will support them. So these leaders would not face opposition, and even if they did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them victory. So all the leaders today, those who want to remain in power, they should focus on al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Sharif and the emancipation of al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Sharif. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make them powerful, inshallah. Any handshaking with the illegal entity known as Israel, legal entity known as Israel, even though the name Israel is the name of Yaqub alayhi salam, they don't deserve the name Israel. Any handshaking with them is forbidden. You can have ceasefires, but what you cannot have is deals and embassies and sharing trade and commerce with them to the degree that you legitimize them. So any leader who today recognizes Israel, Muslims should be wary of that leader, irrelevant to who he is. And the same with ulama, scholars who recognize the state of Israel, so-called Islamic scholars who give fatwa to validate the state of Israel and therefore validate the occupation of al-Masjid al-Aqsa and the removal of the Palestinian people, ethnic cleansing that's occurring in Palestine itself. Likewise, if these leaders, they adopted the correct positions, they would stay in power. How? I guarantee you, if Imran Khan had removed the French ambassador, today he would not be facing difficulty. Now his supporters will become emotional regarding me stating this, but I will give one story of a Sultan Nuruddin Zangi rahimahullah. A Sultan Nuruddin Zangi, when his father passed away, he only inherited one city, the city of Halab, Aleppo, and that city was filled with crime. There was crime everywhere. Nuruddin Zangi rahimahullah wanted to implement Sharia law, but his advisors said Sharia law is too relaxed with criminals. The Sharia law is not very strict. The way the media today makes it seem that Sharia law is very strict is false. The Sharia law is very difficult to apply on criminals. So they said we need more harsh laws, harsher laws than Sharia itself. Nuruddin Zangi rahimahullah, he wrote to his Shaykh Umar al-Malla, who inclined to the position of his advisors. But Nuruddin Zangi did not listen to their advice and implemented Sharia law as it is, which was removal of all taxations, collection of zakat, distribution of zakat amongst the poor, and implementation of all the other Islamic laws and guidelines. When this was done, Umar al-Malla, the Shaykh, he read in Hims, the city of Hims, on the pulpit, he said, on the mimbar, he said, Umar, the ascetic, advised the ruler not to implement certain things, but the ruler gave guidance to the ascetic. They say within 1 year, law and order went throughout Damascus, throughout Aleppo, Halab, and throughout the region. Within a few years, the kingdom of Nuruddin Zangi, increased from one city, but included all of Greater Syria, all of Greater Syria, all of Egypt, all of Arabia, which is the Hijaz, and all of Yemen. And he became the most powerful ruler in that region. He was the forefather to whom? To Sultan Salahuddin al-Ayyubi rahimahullah. That was the barakah of implementing Sharia law as it is. And similarly, Sultan Salahuddin al-Ayyubi rahimahullah, who then conquered the city of Jerusalem. So if these rulers implemented Sharia, they will have the barakah, the blessings of implementing the Sharia. But if they do not, then they will always face this opposition. Their power will cease, it will go away and dissipate if they do not follow the guidelines, and if they do not focus on the emancipation of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, which is the greatest issue that we face today. The response to that is Imran Khan is as good as he wants to be. He is better than whoever else is opposing him. And he is as good as he wants to be. The point is that he has done things like speaking up in the OIC, in the UN, implemented many good things, but there are many things which he is open to taking advice on, and one of them was the removal of the French ambassador. This was something that he should have done. It was a mistake on his part not to have done so. So there are certain things that he needs to be advised on in terms of Islamic spirituality, in terms of Islamic guidelines. If he is sincere for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place around him bitana, a group of people who shall advise him, inshallah.